In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose. As long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts, Angry Alex and Angry Sean. On this episode, we are pissed. And before we start, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. They're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You could see the Stars today at family-friendly, affordable prices. Season will be starting in a few short weeks, so head on over to icehogs.com, get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Can I start with a little tirade?
Go for it.
I think we were all prepared that having a rookie quarterback, there was going to be ups and there was going to be downs. It was going to be a roller coaster. And I think most sane people were prepared for that.
Yes.
But what we weren't prepared for is, and we probably should have been, was coaching staff filled with stupid assholes that don't know what they're doing. The offensive line is an absolute joke. Guys that could play last year are just absolutely lost. Absolutely lost. We have the wide receivers and the quarterback not on the same page all the time. We have no running attack whatsoever. Today, we faced the worst rushing defense in the NFL, and they looked like the Steel Curtain 70s Pittsburgh Steelers. It is unreal how poorly managed this is. We were right as fans all along. Eberflus should have been fired last year. You said that you were going to do everything you could to make a soft landing for your rookie quarterback. You brought in a bunch of you brought in wide receivers. You brought in tight ends. You brought in a new running back. You brought in a new coordinator. And guess what? You didn't fix the damn offensive line, and you kept the same terrible head coach. And that's where we are. And guess what? We're either stuck with this offensive coordinator because no decent offensive coordinator is going to come to this job if you keep Eberflus and you fire Shane Waldron. Nobody will come. You will have the people that are trying to you'll get the Luke Getzes of the world begging for jobs coming to you. You will not get anybody that's good. So you are at the point now where you've painted yourself in the corner of having your rookie quarterback having to take his second scheme in 2 seasons when you fire Matt Eberflus, or you run it back out and just hope that he's become better and overcomes this terrible play calling. That's where we are, and this happens every goddamn year.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And you know what makes this 10 times worse is in your own division, you have 3 head coaches who could arguably be in the top 5.
Yeah.
Do you see what they are doing with Sam Darnold in Minnesota?
The
Packers steamrolled the Titans.
At least Sam Darnold was, a top pick in the NFL draft. Like when he came out, you're like, oh, this is a guy of talent. And he went to the Jets, which are the East Coast Bears. But I'm looking at the stupid Green Bay Packers. They've got one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. And they're like, that's okay. We will run it out there and we will run all over you and we'll make him work. And they'll get the win. It's infuriating.
You'll have the right coaches. You'll have the right scheme. You have the winning players in the trenches. None of that the Chicago Bears have right now. I don't know how you expect to compete when this is the level you are at. Matt Eberflus has won 3 road games in his head coaching career. 3. You know what those 3 were? It was against Mac Jones and a team that at the time maybe we didn't realize was an absolute tire fire in New England, a bad Washington Commanders team, and a Josh Dobbs Vikings team that you needed to scratch and claw your way to win 12-10. Those are your 3 wins on the road. And now here you are today. You have questionable play calling. You see Roschon Johnson having success up the middle early, and you go away from it. DeAndre Swift was lucky to get 3 yards a carry today. Did not look like a running back to me. And then you get to the end zone, the red zone. You don't call one passing play, and you end up losing yards on a 4th down play, which could have swung the game. And then you have to burn 2 timeouts. You realize that you want to go for 2 after you had your kicker out there. And you burn a timeout, which ended up being important. It ended up mattering. And you burned it. We got to do a better job communication. That's on us. It's your 3rd fucking year as a head coach. Do you think Matt LaFleur is making these mistakes? Do you think Dan Campbell is making these mistakes?
Not in their 3rd year. Not in their 3rd year.
You think Sean McVay, who you're going to face next week, who just had an epic comeback win against the 49ers, you think he's going to make that mistake? You think Mike Tomlin makes that mistake with Justin Fields, who's now 3-0? You think they make that mistake? I don't think so. You think Mike McDaniel makes that mistake? No. No, they don't. Listen, if this was your 3rd ever game as a coach, year 1, okay. It's your 3rd year, not your 3rd game. What the hell?
It's if we lose this game and it was because Caleb Williams was, making rookie mistakes, I can live with that.
And he did too. He did.
But the coaching staff and that offensive line failed him miserably. It's this offensive coordinator is acting like he's never been an offensive coordinator before. It's the wrong personnel, it's the wrong plays, and he's not learning. And I guarantee you that coaching staff is going in there and be like, these players, no. Matt Eberflus should be launched into Lake Michigan. There's no way it's not too early to start hey, he should be fired, because this is bad. This is absolutely, you have painted yourself in such a bad situation where you had one coordinator fired for HR violations of God knows what he did.
It was the defensive coordinator last year. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you fired your offensive coordinator because he was terrible. And then you bring in another offensive coordinator and he's terrible. And at what point do you take responsibility? I like Ryan Poles, but when he misses hard.
Yeah. I mean, look at the misses you do have. Now, you can look at the hits and say the proportion is bigger with the hits, but here are the primary misses. Chase Claypool, massive miss. Nate Davis, massive miss. And you know what? I hate to say it, but really not impressed with DeAndre Swift so far. And I know the offensive line is bad, but at least when you were running early with Roschon, he could power ahead. frankly, I think DeAndre Swift looks better as like a wide receiver in a short game.
When they signed DeAndre Swift, in my head, I went, okay, how I see this working is DeAndre Swift is the passing back down, and he's going to get a lot of dump offs and screen passes, and he's going to get put in the slot, and
Yes.
and he's going to be the change of pace runner. And I'm like, they'll pound Roshan Johnson and Khalil Herbert. And that has not been the case. And the fact that I thought they were going to do the right thing makes me mad.
Shame
And
on us for thinking they would.
and I I have heard enough former offensive linemen not not point fingers, but but say things that allude to this is a scheme issue with the offensive line. And I don't think they're good, but how in the world did Tevin Jenkins go from Pro Bowl caliber to a turnstile?
You know what? I think there's something going on there. I really do, because remember in the past where there were some things going on in camp, and then now he's kind of looking for a future contract, but the Bears aren't ready for that because despite him playing really well over the last few years, he hasn't stayed fully healthy in a full season. I don't know. I think there's something going on there. That's just my theory.
I mean, there's Darnell Wright is not playing particularly well, and
No, and that one's really disappointing.
it's there's something going on. And when you hear them talk, they're like, we're just doing what we're told to do. I think there's a massive issue with the scheme. And Olin Kreutz keeps saying that the Bears not only retained Chris Morgan, the line coach, but promoted him before they hired an offensive coordinator. And he said if he was an offensive coordinator, he would not go to a place if they told him who his offensive line coach was going to be, because he said as an offensive coordinator, that is your number one right hand. And he said he would not let somebody choose that for him. And I just wonder if there's just massive gaps in where those two are, and you don't have a strong head coach to make this work. I'm just flabbergasted, and I don't. I mean, look at when you had first and goal from the 4.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I am fine if you run 4 times. You're going against the worst run defense in the NFL. I'm fine, but the personnel you put, Roshan Johnson is not in there at all, and one of them is an option on 4th and goal. You run the option and go and look. Watch that play again. Count how many Bears offensive linemen are laying on the ground. It's 5.
Yeah.
5, all of them on the ground.
I saw the screenshot. Woof.
There was DeAndre Swift had no chance at all. It was a bad call to begin with, and it was just an absolute abomination. And the coaching staff should really have to walk home from Indianapolis to think about what they did. This was bad. And
Indianapolis tried to hand you the game so many times.
Yeah. And I'm pissed at the referees too, because, I hate blaming officials, but the NFL has such poor officiating. It's unreal. Is they don't blow a whistle, and that they reverse an interception because they said forward motion was stopped.
Yeah, that was horseshit.
But on a play where the forward motion was stopped and then they just got a bunch of people and pushed afterwards, they're like, oh, that's a touchdown. That is dog shit. It's if you call it one, you got to call it both ways. That should not have been a touchdown. or it should have been an interception.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more pissed about the interception because that flips the field right then and there. Whereas even if the Bears would have stopped them on that play, they're probably getting in the end zone regardless. But that that no call on the interception was really, really freaking disappointing and really, really aggravating. I
Or,
also think too
or
that
on the fourth down when they were about to punt and the long snapper bobbed his head, like ridiculous bob, not like a slight bob. And the first defender that is closest to the long snapper is the one that jumped. And they're, well, that's a neutral zone infraction. How is that not a false start?
yeah,
You
that
can't
yeah.
bob your head like that. If the offensive player makes a movement to draw the player off, that is a false start.
Yep.
They should have just gone 5 yards back and punted. Instead, that was a touchdown.
Yeah.
The Bears
Yeah.
didn't deserve to win that game, but they still should have come away with that game with between the interception and the wrong call on the fourth down for the defensive offsides and the the fourth down or run on the goal line. Like
But
the
there's
Bears,
also the reality too that the Colts had way more penalties and the Bears still couldn't take advantage of that.
yeah, it's just infuriating. Is and I would be just as mad if the Bears had won. It would not have alleviated anything, but at least we would have the win. This this just makes it hurt more.
I mean, first play of the second half, and Richardson throws a dog shit pick. I know you got points off it, you got a field goal, but the fact that you can't get in the end zone, like that is just such a common theme. And then when you had the interception in the end zone, it looked like things were cooking. And then unfortunately, Caleb Williams made a very, very, very bad decision on that first interception. Obviously, we'll talk about Caleb Williams, but once again, there you are shooting yourself in the foot over and over and over again. And hell, on that fourth down at the goal line, I don't necessarily think it's bad to go on fourth down. Would I have been okay with just taking the points? Sure. It's probably hindsight 2020. I mean, if they ran a play that actually got in the end zone, I probably would have been glad they didn't kick a field goal, but it always hurts so bad to come away from that empty-handed. And that right there really was the turning point of the game when you ran that stupid ass option and you lost what 10 yards on that play. And it's like, how many
It,
millions of times have we seen the Bears do that?
and you know what? I'm not even mad at DeAndre Swift because there was like five
He had no
defenders right there, and
chance.
it's either run straight into him and get the tackle or run backwards to hopefully reverse the field and be one of those ones where everybody overcommitted and run to the other way. Like, you know what? That happened, but the play calling and the offensive line effort was terrible. And I know we're criticizing Caleb Williams for these deep throws, but the kid is running for his life. Is last year everybody was like, oh, well, it was Justin Fields' fault. He held the ball too long. Guess what? Caleb Williams isn't holding the ball too long, and he's under fire. At what point do everybody just go, it's the damn offensive line is terrible and the offensive scheme is bogus?
Yeah, and listen, if you'd have had a better plan, a better approach, and less stupid things like this, with the way the defense played as it's had, you can let Caleb Williams make some of those mistakes and still win. Because let's be real, it was not a perfect game from Caleb Williams. The first pick, 100% on him. It was all on him. And that's going to happen. It will happen. And there were moments where, was a little shaky. But again, he is a rookie. It was his third career game. If there's any encouraging news, he seemed to finally get in chemistry with Roma Dunze. He had over 100 yards receiving. Seems like the connection was there. And the one thing that we'd been asking Shane Waldron to do, which he actually did, was finding Cole Kmet. And Cole Kmet was a big factor in the offense today. So gold star for you, I guess. But when you make mistakes like the Bears do, then it's less room for error for your rookie quarterback who is going to make those mistakes. And there was another play too where Caleb made, probably wouldn't have mattered. You would have punted either way, but there was the one sack where he had to throw it away and he didn't. And he took a sack and it moved back more than you wanted it to. But shit, it's how can you expect to win with a rookie quarterback when you have all these issues? Because you have a chance to make it easier for him. I mean, everyone is saying, oh, well, he's got the best situation. He's got all these weapons. Well, guess what? He doesn't have protection. He doesn't have good coaching. So these mistakes that he makes are going to be a lot more costly when you can't overcome them.
I want to bring up something else that I don't hear anybody talk about. Is what did I say in the offseason about the Bears wide receiver core? That they are really, really good, this top three. But after that, the depth drops significantly. And what are we seeing with the Bears with Keenan Allen out with injury? I want to point out that I think the Bears fans and media are in unison that Velus Jones is a bust. But I'm not hearing enough Tyler Scott is a bust.
Did he even get a target today?
No. I don't even know if he was active today. You had another third round pick wide receiver, and you've got the guy that you brought in off the streets to be your kick and punt returner is out there getting like 6 targets. And where's Byron Scott? Nowhere to be found.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere to be found. This depth, why are so many plays being funneled through DeAndre Carter? Like, why are so many plays? It's unreal. Don't do that. And yeah, it's unreal. The fact that, you look at the wide receiver depth and it's just abysmal. And if Velus Jones is not going to be active on the game day roster, why aren't you cutting him and trying to bring in somebody that maybe you could have him take the place of DeAndre Carter in the offense? DeAndre Carter shouldn't be in the offensive scheme. He just shouldn't. And the fact that you don't have anybody else outside of DJ Moore and Rome Odunze that can be this is an indictment on the ability to. You saw that you had 3 studs and you went, we're good. And knowing Keenan Allen is always hurt, you just can't do that. I'm sorry. And you need to build up your rookie quarterback. Is, like you said, make plays where he goes to Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet owned the middle of the field. If you're going to be a rookie quarterback and you're going to be successful, you'd better learn the middle of that field quick, because the faster you learn how to throw in the middle of the field, the more success you're going to have. And have some hot routes to DJ Moore. DJ, don't throw those stupid passes that are behind the line of scrimmage because they know it's coming and they blow it up. The only reason you had one work today to get a first down is because the guy missed the tackle. He was there. He blew it up and he missed the tackle.
How many regimes are we going to watch where they just love throwing behind the sticks and they constantly lose yards or go nowhere? We saw it with Nagy. We saw it with Getsy. We're seeing it again with Shane Waldron. I mean, it
went before them too. I mean,
oh yeah, it went with John Fox.
It went before that. It's been years.
The bubble screen was Mark Trestman's favorite move.
It was even before that. I mean, it is the two turds that were between the um Ron Turner's two yeah
Turd.
his two stints. You had the turds in between, and they were all about the bubble screens. It's just stop it, stop
So
it.
much pain in the
Is
world today. Too many turds are heading my way.
is why don't you throw some slants, some quick slants? Give your rookie quarterback a chance.
Why are you dropping back on 2-point conversions? Just throw the quick slant. I don't get it. You can convert 2-point conversions nearly every time doing that.
When you had you had first and goal from the 4 and you did 4 straight runs, how many of those runs were under center?
Oh, God, I'd have to go back and look.
0. All were from the shotgun.
Again, didn't we talk about that last week? Didn't we talk about the same thing last week?
It's at the goal line. It's if you have a stud offensive line, you can do pretty much whatever. If you don't, the play has to be quick developing. It has to be quick. You've got to, because the longer it takes, the more likely it is to fail. And the Bears they're like, let's throw the slowest developing runs out there. It's I just can't. And
Never ends.
we've got a rookie quarterback and there's growing pains. That first interception, that was bad.
That was rough.
That was bad footwork, not stepping into the throw and not knowing where that defender was. He got baited into that. I'm hoping he learns from it. The second one, that one was an unfortunate one. Is the defender made a good play, knocked it out of the guy's hands, and it popped up into the air.
It was Ronnie Dunze, wasn't it?
I think it was.
I think it was too. And the thing too was it was double coverage as well. So
It was an ill-advised throw, but if you watch, I mean, if you wanted to be ticky-tack about it, before he tipped the ball, the defender put his hands in the face mask of the receiver and pushed. I mean, it could have been a pass interference there.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to shit all over that because, as a rookie receiver, if you're not going to make that play, you've got to knock it down.
Right.
You got to knock it down. In that, if knock that ball down, play defense, and don't let that interception. Probably an ill-advised throw, but the throw was on the mark. That defensive player, the one underneath, made a good play, and the one over the top just happened to be standing there and caught a pop-up. I wouldn't beat Caleb up for that one. The first one, yeah, that one's you look back at and you go, oof, that was a bad decision and a bad throw. The second one, it's hard to fault him for knowing he can put the ball in that place, because eventually we hope that he's going to put that ball right in that place and abuse defense by throwing right into that double coverage and connecting on it. That's what, Aaron Rodgers will do. That's what Patrick Mahomes will do. And it's a defense killer when you can beat a double team. It was just a good play. And my biggest concerns are Caleb's running for his life, and he's not on the same page with these receivers. And I don't know if it's him. I don't know if they're digging into these playbooks and it's not things that they've been practicing. I don't know where it's going, because it's been Cole Kmet, it's been DJ Moore, it's been Roma Dunze, it's been DeAndre Carter. It has been everybody has been on, and it's been on DeAndre Swift. Like, there's been a lot of miscommunication where guys, and you'll see Caleb do the hand motion where he's like pointing like, oh, go this way. And I don't know who's wrong. And it's one of those things I'll never know, because without knowing the play call and going back and identifying it, it's all speculation.
Yeah.
And I don't know how any of this gets better.
I
Is because you did a coward's way of benching Nate Davis. Oh, he wasn't well enough to play, and you put in Pryor, and he wasn't very good. You had subs come in, and nobody played well. So what's going on? What is going on with that coaching staff? What are they doing to make things better? I don't hear enough of this coaching staff taking responsibility for things. I don't
it might be better, blah, 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 blah.
Why aren't the coaches taking responsibility for this? Why isn't Ryan Poles standing up there taking shots for his inability to put depth at wide receiver and a quality offensive line there?
What does he see with this offensive line? How is it that every fan expressed concern in the offseason and in camp and in preseason? What is he not seeing? And they were talking about this on the radio last week, about the psychology behind this, because as you and I know, and as pretty much every Bears fan knows, Ryan Poles is a former offensive lineman. He was once in camp with the Bears. I believe it was 2008. It may be overthinking, but is this a product of the quote bias, where you see guys working hard who are trying to overcome, and he's sucked into that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he finds the traits that remind him of himself. And it's not in an arrogant way. It's just, it's human nature to see something relatable and think highly of it. And again, I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but you can wonder, right? I mean, how do you go into a season with no reliable center, with a rookie quarterback?
And why you traded for Ryan Bates, the guy you've been in love with? How did you not know he had an arthritic shoulder?
Yeah,
why didn't your medical staff catch that?
And that's something I felt like the Bears have done a good job with. Remember the Larry Ogunjobi thing?
Yeah.
When they didn't sign him because he failed the physical? But here's this situation, and that's not good, man. That's not what you like to hear.
And I'm just so frustrated. It's one thing if you lose hard fought games and you're like, oh, okay, we got to clean these things up. How do you clean up the fact that your offensive line is terrible? How do you do that?
Do you make a trade? Do you try to sign somebody? Do you just find somebody off a practice squad?
And
what can you do?
And we cast off Justin Fields because Justin Fields was the problem. Justin Fields is 3-0.
Well, I mean, he's also on a much better coached team.
Not a better quality player team, a better coached team.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I think Mike Tomlin might be a little better than Matt Eberflus.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just saying is that the caliber of players on that team, because that was not a good team last year, is the fact that he's doing well is because that the coaching staff with the Steelers, Mike Tomlin is significantly better than Matt Eberflus.
Top 5 coach in the game, I'd say.
Matt Eberflus is a bottom 5 coach.
He hasn't proven otherwise.
No, he is not. He is not.
And hey, like I said, you could call a defense great. That's cool. You could be a real good defensive coordinator. He was a good defensive coordinator in Indy when he took over play calling last year. Granted, you got Montez Sweat, so you got pressure on the quarterback, but things did get better when he started calling plays and when you actually put talent on the team.
I just feel with the talent that's on the defensive side of the ball now that you don't need an elite defensive coordinator to call a good enough defensive game. You don't,
but at least you can say Matt Eberflus has a track record of being a good defensive coordinator.
Yes, I will give you that. But
he's got good linebackers on the Bears. He had some good linebackers in Indianapolis. He knows really how to utilize linebacking. He's very, very good at that. But if you're going to be a head coach, you got to be good at that stuff. There's a lot to it than just being the boss. And even if he's not in the year of Shane Waldron calling the plays, it's the timeouts. And what did we see last week? Not one, but 2 challenges that his staff identified should be challenged when everybody watching on television, everybody, the people calling the game, the people watching the game, they all said the same thing. What the hell are you challenging? Those are the people on your staff that you brought in. This is your process. So what the hell? What the hell?
Yeah, I don't. I'm at a loss for words. I don't know. I'm just expecting more of the same next week. Is the Rams? We thought they were dead in the water. They hadn't won a game. They were facing the 49ers. But they found a way to win. And they got blown out by Arizona. I don't know what Rams team we're going to see, but I will tell you this. They're going to be a better coached team than Chicago.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Sean McVay can coach circles around you. And you're going to have to use your talent to overcome that. You're going to have your defense make plays. You're going to have to make Caleb Williams make plays. You're going to have to shuffle up the play calling and make sure what you're doing makes sense. You're going to have to keep feeding Cole Kmet. Target DJ Moore downfield.
You can't have these long pass plays. You have to have options underneath because you see what happens. Like you saw those connections when Caleb Williams had time to step back and step into the throws. But when he's running for his life, they're just not on target. And we see plays where he can't roll out because the pressure's coming from the sides. He can't step up because the pressure's coming up the middle. There's nowhere for him to go without twisting and spinning and turning. And all of that just means when we hear the old adage, quarterbacks that step up in the pocket. What happens when you just step up in the pocket is you never leave your throwing stance. You step up, but you're still in your stance, ready to throw. But when you have to twist your body and turn, you're not in a throwing stance anymore. You're not. Give him options underneath. Let him have some quick passes. Get him in a rhythm. Stop running the ball with stupid fucking plays that puts you in 3rd and longs. Stop putting your rookie quarterback in 3rd and longs. That is setting him up for failure. If the running plays aren't working, do something else. I just, how many times can you keep putting a rookie quarterback on the road in 3rd and longs? It's so stupid. I just want to punch Shane Waldron and Matt Eberflus in the face. I can't. Watching these games should be fun.
They're not fun.
They're not fun. It's punishment. I did something wrong in a past life. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure I did it because I was cursed to be a Chicago Bears fan.
Yep, me too. Me too. You know what's funny as well? When I watched the game today, and I'm seeing so much of what we've seen in years past just rear its ugly head again and again. I thought to myself, if I sat here and I looked from the past, I'm sitting in the same spot watching this game, and then I take what I saw going back a few years, and not knowing the context of what we have now, I would look at the scenario and be like, wow, we didn't make any changes, right? Sure, we maybe have a few new players, but it's got to be the same coaching, right? It's the same scheme. No, it's not. It's a replay with different personnel, but in the same franchise. It's insane. We hire new people. We think it's going to be different. And we haven't seen it be different yet. And I hope that by some miracle, it is. Someday. Soon, later, I don't know. But it's hard for me to sit here and look at what they're doing in Green Bay and Minnesota and Detroit. Could you maybe get a win against them? Sure. Matt Eberflus beat the doors off the Lions at home last year. But to consistently be better and to pass them, because I know it's early in the season. It's very early. But you're 1-2. Minnesota's 3-0. Green Bay's 2-1. Detroit is 2-1. So if you want to even try to keep pace, you got to start winning some of these games coming up. You know, we talked about the Rams just a few minutes ago, and they might be a tougher challenge than you thought they were going to be even just 24 hours ago. But you have yet to face your division, and it's going to be a while. And you're going to have some games where you're playing against teams that have good things, but they're not necessarily unwinnable. Just like today, even though you lost. But you got to start winning some of these games coming up if you want a chance in this. You have to.
You cannot dig yourself into a hole and then try to mount this comeback because your schedule is easiest now. It gets harder later. You got to win these games. And guess what? The gimme game that you had against Carolina, where you put that down as a straight up victory. Oh, that team's terrible. Guess what? They won today. And they benched their quarterback. They put Andy Dalton in, and Andy Dalton looked like Joe Montana.
Yeah. How about that?
So
I think Bryce Young is toast at this point.
Oh, yeah, he's bad.
Yeah.
But then you have a great coach like the 49ers coach. They didn't win today, but guess what? He took a guy that was drafted in the 7th round a couple years ago in Jawan Jennings, Guy catches 175 yards in receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. He's not taking top flight guys. He's taking nobodies and making them top flight guys. We have top flight guys that we're making into pedestrian guys because we have a bad coaching staff.
You have a weapon, a legitimate weapon in DJ Moore.
Is how are you making him pedestrian? How?
The only thing
I'm not joking. Shane Waldron has looked significantly worse than Luke Getsy. Do I want Luke Getsy back? No. But he's looked worse than Luke Getsy.
At least the Luke Getsy script plays early in games worked.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying I want Luke Getsy back either. But
just because your terrible ex-girlfriend is better than your current terrible girlfriend doesn't mean you want your terrible ex-girlfriend back. You just want a nice girlfriend.
Ryan Poles is sending a one-worded text to Luke Getsy. Hey. Even though the Panthers just embarrassed them though, but so, you know.
I just like I mean, did they bench Gardner Minshew?
I don't know. I don't even know. I saw that the Panthers were beating them and there was Andy Dalton having the game of his life, and I'm like, all right.
I mean, here we go with the Luke Getsy is your running backs had 13 carries today. Like that's on script. That is on brand. That's what he does. So why can't we just bring in somebody that doesn't suck? We should have fired Eberflus when we got the number 1 pick. Like,
you had the perfect out.
You had the perfect out. You're like, you know what? We are doing everything we can to put a team around this guy. Let's put an offensive coordinator. Everybody and their mother said it, and it was never considered.
New quarterback, new coordinator, new head coach.
I was not one that said that we should have got Jim Harbaugh because I don't want Harbaugh ball in Chicago. But do you think this offensive line would have played like this under Jim Harbaugh?
God, no. God, no. I wanted Harbaugh ball, but you and I both know that wasn't happening.
It was not going to happen.
We knew that wasn't happening. The one guy that people talk about that I kind of wanted for offensive coordinator was Kubiak because he's had some success in the past. And I mean, technically so is Shane Waldron, but I don't think quite the same level as Gary Kubiak. The one issue
Clint
Kubiak, sorry, not Gary Kubiak. But the other thing I was going to say was look at last year when they started 0-4. Remember the 4th loss?
No.
That was the Broncos game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. I blocked that out of my mind.
People were wondering, is it a matter of if or when they get a new head coach? And then the Detroit loss happened. And then you won a few games. And then the Cleveland loss happened. And then you won a few games. You had several moments last year where you thought that Eberflus was probably toast in Chicago. But they didn't move on from the head coach. And maybe some of us thought, even if we didn't fully believe it, that you could, with a new quarterback, with a new offensive coordinator, you could go into this year and you could prove that Matt Eberflus is worthy of the job as long as he manages everything okay. You let the offensive coordinator do his job. He goes out there and helps coordinate the defense, and you execute on the technical stuff. Unfortunately, you're still seeing the stupid things like the timeout situation or really bad penalties after timeouts, like we saw in Texas. Does that not ultimately land on the head coach?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff?
The head coach is getting so many passes. And listen, like Eberflus seems like a real nice guy. Like it seems like he could be a guy that you could sit at a bar and have a beer with and chat up and have a good time with. But he's not a good head coach. This team has consistently been unprepared every season, and then it takes him forever to figure it out, and before they start playing better. And this is a long season, but it's not nearly long enough to waste the first quarter plus of the season before you start turning things around. It's not how this works. Is other teams have their players coached up and prepared and ready to go to run through walls in week 1. Never the Bears. They come out and yeah, the Bears got a victory week 1, but
They handed you that win.
Could it have been a worse victory? Could you think of a worse victory?
No. You needed a special teams touchdown and an awful pick by Will Levis. And by the way, that Titans team, they look like dog crap.
So did the Bears make them look better than they were, or did that loss to the Bears break them? Or is there some combination of the two?
Maybe a combination of the two, but you can't deny that Titans team looks like a train wreck right now.
Yeah.
It's bad. I think too that when you look at that game, you can say right now that you were one play away in the first half from that game being over before halftime. And that was the underthrow by Will Levis that Jalen Johnson tipped away but couldn't intercept.
Yep.
That could have been the game right there, truthfully.
Yep, absolutely.
Because if you have a bigger lead, if you are the Titans and you have a bigger lead, that pick 6 doesn't happen because you're running the ball that late. With the lead, you're running the ball. You're not throwing that pick 6. So yes, your team did rally and make some defensive adjustments. The culture doesn't seem bad. Although things might be getting sour already.
You've seen DJ Moore be frustrated. You've seen Caleb Williams be frustrated. You can't, if you lose a competitive game this early, I don't think you lose anybody. But if you're losing by just playing abysmally bad, yeah, it's going to come back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah. So I don't know what to think. I think that we can at least look at Caleb Williams and say that in each game, you've seen some progression. That's a good thing. You want to keep seeing it. But you also need to start winning some games.
Yeah,
and listen, if you would have turned it around this week and played a really good game and won easily, you can look back at that Texans game and say, okay, you made some adjustments, you learned a few things, you moved forward. But right now, we can't say that. You need to go out there next week and get a win at home. It's not going to be easy necessarily, but I hate to say there's such thing as a must win in week 4.
But you're facing the Rams team that doesn't have their top 2 wide receivers.
And yet, what did they do today?
They won. So they don't have a good running back. They don't have their top wide receivers. But you've got to put points on the board because they're going to figure out a way to score probably 24 points. It's my guess. They'll find a way to put up 24 points. You have got to score more than that. I don't know how you're going to do it. You've got to. And, you know, today you faced the worst rushing defense by a mile. And guess how many rushes your your running backs had?
Not a lot.
25. Guess how many passes you attempted?
Over 50.
52.
Yeah.
Your ratio should be 50-50-ish, not 1-2. You lost by one score. You shouldn't be dropping back 52 times when you have a bad offensive line. And, you know, give Caleb Williams props. Threw for over 360 yards, 2 touchdowns. And I feel bad because his first career touchdown pass was also Rome Odunze's first career touchdown reception.
Mm-hmm.
And they were fighting over the ball. I feel bad. They both deserve a ball. But you know, we have got to see better protection, and we've got to see opportunity for Caleb to make these nice throws. Look at Anthony Richardson against a stout defense. There were plays where there was wide open guys in the zone scheme. Why can we never find wide open guys in the zone? Every single one of our catches are contested catches. Every single one. For years. Doesn't matter who the coordinator is. Just it's been Nagy, it's been Getsy, it's been Waldron. It's just the same. How does one team have such a curse over them?
It's so discouraging. It really, really is. And I hope that they, by some miracle, turn this around. That Shane Waldron finds a rhythm, that the chemistry is more set. Caleb Williams keeps moving forward. I really, really hope we see that, because right now it is all just disastrous. And it's so painful. It's so painful.
How did you watch the tape as the coaching staff of the first 2 games and still not be able to figure anything out? Are you stupid? And that's not me being mean. I'm literally asking, are they stupid? I don't know the answer. And it's a legitimate question that I have, because I want to know. I want them to answer it. I wish I was at the press conference post game so I could ask the question. Excuse me, this is for Shane Waldron and Matt Eberflus. Are you stupid? And then they'd get flustered, and I would raise my hand again. I didn't get an answer to the question. I wasn't being funny. I want to know, are you stupid? Do you have some sort of special need that, you know, we need to treat you with kid gloves? Like, I need to understand, because what you're showing me is what stupid people would do.
And then you'd walk out in a blaze of glory on you.
And then the whole way as they're dragging me out of there, I'd be like, George writes with a purple crayon. George signs checks with a purple crayon.
How did he know our secret? Just picturing you're just kicking your legs furiously as they're dragging you out, and you're yelling that. By the way, when you talk about running the tape, I think they put it in the old VCR and it went, and all the tape started spaghettiing out of the VCR.
Oh God. I can't. And, you know, if you told me like, oh yeah, we had a time machine, came back, they beat the Rams. Okay. I don't think the Rams are that good. They got the win today, but I mean, they're just a really well-coached team. They have a really good head coach, but they're a team that has an old quarterback who's a talented quarterback, but he's old.
He's old.
And you're missing a lot of your key players. You had your Hall of Fame level best defensive player retire. That it's really hard to replace a guy like that. They're a team in transition, and you should at home be able to beat them. But sadly, I don't think they will, because coaching matters in the NFL, and you have a shitty coach. I wonder. I would love to be on a fly on the wall in Ian Cunningham and Ryan Poles conversations in the owner's booth when they're watching the game and they're talking to each other. I would love to be a fly on the wall, hear what they really think, because they can't be happy about this. They said Ryan Poles went up there and touted the talent on this roster. He had us all believe they were ready to make a playoff run, that they were just a couple pieces away and they're going to compete this year. And they've got their future star quarterback. And now they've got their offensive coordinator. They're ready to go. It's hard to make this team. But guess what? You can't walk the walk. You've got to talk. You can't talk the talk. You got to walk the walk. And they're limping. They are limping bad. They talked the mean game, but they are limping bad.
Yep.
It's infuriating. Like, you looked at this stretch of games and you're like, okay, we all looking at the schedule, right? Okay, they win week 1 against the Titans, and they did. They're going to lose against the Texans, and they did. And you're like, okay, but they should beat the Colts and the Rams and the Panthers. And then you're like, okay, we're 4-1. We're all happy at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, okay, well, the Jaguars are probably going to be tough. But then the Jaguars are not looking very good this season. So
what's tough is that you have to fly all the way to London, and the Jaguars are more used to that and the Bears are not.
Correct. Then you get a bye week. But you got the Commanders. Commanders are looking better than you are. The Cardinals look better than you are. The Patriots are bad. Then you got the Packers, and they're going to have their healthy quarterback back ready to play, and you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah, it's looking that way now.
Then you're going to play the Vikings. You're going to get your ass kicked. You play the Lions. You're going to get your ass kicked. You're going to play the 49ers. You're going to get your ass kicked. Then you're going to play the Vikings. You're going to get your ass kicked. Then you're going to play the Lions. You're going to get your ass kicked. That's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row that you're going to get your ass kicked. And guess what? If you're not, 5-1 to start that beginning of that season, that set run of games there is going to be what gets Eberflus fired. If you lose that game of 6 in a row, how do you not fire him?
Well, yeah, if that happens, you don't have a choice, truly.
You have to fire him. You've already after year 2 of your head coach. After year 2, you replaced both your offense and defensive coordinators. After year 2. So you can't after year 3 then have to replace another coordinator. Not going to happen. That is NFL taboo. Can't do it.
And if worst case scenario does happen and you have to move on from your head coach, hey, what happened under Justin Fields? Year 1, different head coach. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Mitch Trubisky.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Even if you thought Matt Eberflus can take a step forward this year, why not just start new? Yeah. Why not just go out there and start fresh, where you can get everything coming together at once?
You're already getting a new offensive coordinator. Start fresh. Say, sorry, Matt. It's just the way it falls. And guess what? It saves you money, because you have a offensive coordinator that's under a new contract that you got to pay him too.
Mm-hmm.
And go out there And you could have just been like, Matt, we are gearing up to have a new era with a rookie quarterback. Sorry, we've got to bring in an offensive head coach. And he would have been mad. But guess what? Life would have moved on, and you would have had your rookie quarterback with your first year offensive head coach married together and growing together, and that's what dreams are made of. Instead, you do the same stupid thing we do over and over and over and over and over again. Stop it. Ryan Pace talks a good game.
You mean Ryan Poles?
Sorry. Tomato.
Matt and Ryan.
Ryan Pace might as well be Ryan Poles and vice versa.
I was a former lineman. I am Ryan Poles.
Just coach or get right with Jesus here, Ryan Poles. Figure this out. You had it all, and you could have easily gone, you know what? This was the right thing to do. But it is what it is, and we are where we are, and you know they're not going to fire Ryan Poles anytime soon.
No.
But Matt Eberflus, man, he better get that house on the market now, because he's the NFL stands for not for long in Matt Eberflus's lingo.
The seat has to be warm. It just has to be. You got full pass year one because, one, it was your first ever head coaching gig. Two, you were tanking. Full immunity there.
I just going to tell you
year
that
two,
if they lose that many games in the row again,
you can't survive that.
The hits principle is going to stand for he in the streets.
Oh, that's a good one.
So frustrated. And I have nothing to be not frustrated about now. Can we just jump into the Cubs?
Sure. Oh, wait, folks. There's more. There's plenty more as we get into baseball.
Yeah. So you already have Jameson Taillon, and you have your high-paid head coach, manager that are already shitting on the front office and the mistakes that they're making. Jed is not long for this world either as a Cubs front office man, and he deserves it. He has not done a good job. Things have not panned out like everything he has done has been wish and prayer, and best case scenario. And you can't live like that. You are significantly less talented than the Milwaukee Brewers.
They own you. They own this division. They might go to the World Series this year. And the Milwaukee Brewers since 2018 have only missed the playoffs once. And you've missed the playoffs every year since 2018 because I really don't count 2020. Yeah. That was just whatever. But that's 4 years in this regime. You've missed the postseason. And it's very possible. You just won your 80th game today. You very well could finish with the same exact record you had last year. 83 wins. And at the very least, you've already guaranteed it's going to be right around it because you have 80. You've done some good things. You haven't done enough. You have some good players. You don't have a star. It's not enough. You didn't figure out the bullpen. That cost you 1 million games. Craig Counsell knows this team should be better.
He's
Jameson Taillon. So did Jameson Taillon.
Yep. Both of them said it. And I believe the reports now when they say that there is, I don't remember what the word was. I don't want to say turmoil, but there's friction in the front office. And I guarantee it is Craig Counsell and Jed Hoyer and the way that they're viewing this team.
And if Jed Hoyer wants to look at this whole thing and rethink things, just remember, Jed, You brought in Craig Counsell for a reason. And I think that what he was initially thinking was, oh, we were an 83 win team in 2023. We need to win better in the margins. Then we'll make the postseason. Craig Counsell will fix that. You need to give Craig Counsell an actual bullpen. And you know what? I think this is a great opportunity for Craig Counsell with a year under his belt to go up to Jed Hoyer and say, Jed, listen, you want me to win? This is what I need. This is what I want to have on this team. Not this, not this. I need this, this, and this. You got some things to work with, but you need more. You need a reliable bullpen. You're probably going to have to make some moves that are creative. Because let's be real. You have some log jams. You have some crossroads where you can say, in a vacuum, that player is fine. But as a whole, you need more. And when I look at that, I'm looking at areas like Cody Bellinger, who I like Cody Bellinger. He's had a fine year, but you paid him to be your MVP, and he just hasn't been quite that. And I love Nico Horner, but there might just be a reality where you need to look at that position and say, you know what? We may need to sacrifice a little bit of defense for power because you don't have enough power on this team. Whether that means Matt Shaw plays there because I think he's part of this equation, or you move Michael Busch over, you put Bellinger at first, you let Owen Casey take right, and Seiya Suzuki DHs. I don't want to get rid of a guy like Nico Horner just to get rid of him, but I think you are at a crossroads there.
Just imagine how nice it would have been with Shohei Ohtani and his 52 home runs and 51 stolen bases would look on this team.
What a freak. We've never seen that. We may never see that. Unbelievable.
He's still going.
He's still going. He's still going. It's crazy. And see, that's the thing. Put an alpha on this team, I think you're a contender. If you put a guy, even if it's not Shohei Ohtani, if you put a Juan Soto or an Aaron Judge or a Mookie Betts or a Freddie Freeman, and you put him on the Cubs, and you get your 25 home runs and, 800 OPS from Ian Happ, and the same thing from Seiya Suzuki, and Cody Bellinger, again, hitting overall fine. And then Dansby Swanson, who in the second half has played more like himself. You win a few more games. And if you have a reliable closer, yeah, you're in the postseason. Hell, you could be in the postseason if you had a reliable closer all year. You might not go far, but you'd be in the postseason. Because I truly believe to go far in the postseason, you need a star. I think Seiya is very good. He's just right on the other side of that cusp of being a legit star.
Yeah. I mean, is Seiya and Happ and Bellinger being the padding around somebody like Shohei Ohtani or Juan Soto makes them better. And suddenly,
Correct.
Suddenly those guys, they get that bump in stats because there's a stud in that lineup. And because you can't pitch around everybody, and there's legit power in your lineup. And those guys suddenly just start playing like you're hoping that they would play. But you got to put a legit star in there. And I can't fault the Cubs about Shohei Ohtani. No. I think they legit put a really good offer out there, and it just got blown away by the Dodgers offer, and he was
That's
always
where he
going to go to
wanted
the
to be.
Dodgers. That's where he wanted to be, and he just wanted the right dollar amount, and he ended up getting it. There's no doubt in my mind the Cubs were the second offer,
Right. Right.
but it was so far away. It was not like it was. You could have gone up a little bit. It's not like when Maddox and the Dodgers. I mean, sorry, Maddox and the Braves. And you could have had Maddox for a couple $1 million, and this was a seismic gap between where they were and where you were, where he wanted to be. He got the money he wanted, and that's where it was. But Juan Soto, that's a guy you could get. And I know it's not going to happen, but why on earth wouldn't you put every effort into doing that? Do you want to win? Do you want to win? That's how you do it. It's how the Dodgers do it.
Yep.
The way the Dodgers are playing, I think they go to the World Series. I don't think they win, but I think they go to the World Series.
I don't know. That pitching's not very good.
That hitting's so good though.
I look at San Diego. That's a team that can go far. And I'm a little scared the Brewers are going to go far too.
I mean, I'm not throwing the baby out the bathwater, but Philadelphia looks really, really good too. They've got pitching.
Well, and that's the team in the NL I want to win. Because I want to see Kyle Schwarber get another ring. I'd like to see Nick Castellanos get another ring. I'd like to see Bryce Harper get a ring.
I just can't. I lived in Philadelphia for 9 years, and I never want the city of Philadelphia to win anything ever in the history of the world. But I hate the Brewers more. So if it comes down to it, but I mean, if I'm looking at the NL, I hate the Mets. Hate the Brewers. Cubs are out. I'm gonna say the Padres are the team I'm rooting for most.
That's fair.
In the NL, and then hate Arizona. So it'll be the Dodgers too. And then I don't know, man.
This sucks.
Yes, it does.
This fucking sucks.
And in the AL, it's Baltimore. All in. I'm all in. I don't think they've really been struggling as of late, but they're not going to do it. But I'm rooting hard for Baltimore.
Yeah. You know who I'm rooting for in the Central is I'm kind of rooting for the Tigers. They're the third wild card right now. Kind of rooting for them.
They are the second wild card.
Oh, they're up to second now?
Well, they're
Wow.
tied with Kansas City, but they are on a tear, and Kansas City is slumping. Minnesota is right there. They're game out.
They're all kind of bunched together.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Boston is pretty much eliminated. They're 4 out, and there's 6 games left. I would say Seattle's probably a tough one, but Minnesota's 1 game out. I think Detroit is a lock. They're playing really well, and they got 3 games against the White Sox. So I think Detroit is a lock. I think it's that last spot. It's going to be between Kansas City and Minnesota, and they're both kind of floundering a bit, but they're 1 game apart.
Yep.
White Sox, though, big news. They got lost 120 today.
Congratulations.
Oh,
what a day.
I wonder what John Schriffens is thinking right now. Yeah, it's unreal. That team is so bad.
So tell me this. Some of the people listening might not listen to this until after the game, but I believe Monday night they play the Angels at home, correct?
Yes.
So they have a chance to set the record at home.
Yes.
Do people show up?
I think they do.
And I think fans in masses will be tempted to bring the banners, wear the shirts. And
Can't
you're going to have,
can't kick them all out.
yeah, you're going to have Jerry Stooges try to make them turn their shirt inside out, put down the banner, whatever. Because Jerry Reinsdorf, he watches and he sends his goons after the fans.
He does.
So this
I
is what
just
I wanted to ask you.
I just want to point this out though.
Yeah.
Is Jason Benetti is going to be announcing postseason baseball, and John Schriffens is going to be announcing when the White Sox break the most losses in MLB since 1900.
And that kind of relates to something I wanted to bring up. Did you see that athletic piece by Ken Rosenthal on the White Sox?
I did. I did.
A lot in there was what people already suspected and knew, but it goes into all different sorts of details. And we knew that Jerry Reinsdorf didn't like certain things about Jason Benetti, who I'd say is the best announcer they've ever had. But what I didn't know is that he would actually text the booth. Isn't that fucked up?
Super. It's not surprising, but it's super
Okay,
messed up.
well, and let's go beyond just that. The stuff about the analytics and how they don't embrace it. And when they try to dip their foot into it, they don't know what the hell is going on. Oh, spin rate, up or down, I don't know. Oh, your sinker plays down and in. We don't go after individual hitters. Oh ho, yeah, just work on your command, throw strikes better. That's coaching in the minor leagues. Somebody said it was comical. The word comical, trying to figure out some of that analytic stuff, even the most basics of it. Can you, is there a more out of touch organization in sports than the White Sox?
Oh no, absolutely not.
Certainly not in the game of baseball.
No, I mean I would have said the Washington Commanders, but they've got new ownership.
I was going to say that changed.
Maybe Carolina, the Panthers.
Could be.
Uh,
Sure.
Outside of that, that might be it.
And what did you and I say many times about somebody like Rick Hahn? I think Rick Hahn in that rebuild was doing all the right things. And then what happened? Jerry Reinsdorf and his former pet, Kenny Williams, came in and hijacked the whole thing. And that piece pretty much confirmed it. They said, I think it was the offseason 2020, just out of nowhere, Caleb Williams stepped in and say, oh, by the way, I'm getting involved again. And then what else happened after the 2020 season? What happened in December of 2020?
For which team?
The Sox.
I don't know what happened. Is that when they hired
That's when they hired Tony La Russa. When they had the interview with AJ Hinch scheduled and put together, Rick Hahn was getting, it sounds like Rick Hahn was ready to get that all together. That he was his guy. They were getting ready. And then out of nowhere, just as AJ Hinch was going to come, we're going to hire Tony La Russa.
it's not surprising, and it is just frustrating.
And didn't they say they're going to be cutting payroll next year?
Yes.
How? What?
I don't know.
So does that mean trading Luis Robert when he's at his worst value ever?
I think they won't care. I don't think they care.
And then what was that Chris Getz said last week? We're not going to be heavy in free agency. We got a lot of young players on this team that are going to need to play better. And listen, if you're in a rebuild and you're not going all out in free agency, I understand. But to go on TV and say that when you're in your worst season ever, and then to say, well, I thought we were going to lose 100, 110 games. I didn't see 120 games. The man that said, I don't like our team, and then is saying, well, 100, 110 losses, blah, 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 but not 120. After Jerry Reinsdorf said he hired Chris Getz so they could get better as quick as possible. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
So what team do you think has the least number of people in their analytics department in Major League Baseball?
The White Sox.
The White Sox. Yep.
What is it, an abacus?
Yeah. So, and they don't value it. They value the TWTW. But it doesn't matter because Jerry's still making money. Jerry's still making money. All right, I have a fun little stat. So I'm sure you didn't watch the game, but I'm sure you saw the results of what Shohei Ohtani did on Thursday.
Oh, yes. Yes.
6 hits, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, 2 stolen bases. So in that game, he had 3 home runs and 2 stolen bases. Since the trade deadline, do you know how many White Sox players have since the trade deadline, like all of the games combined, have at least 3 home runs and 2 stolen bases?
Oh, isn't it just Luis Robert? Like that's literally it. The one time.
No, it is nobody. It's only Luis Robert if you include, because all of the trade deadline was a little bit after the halfway point. But if you include those games in that make up the halfway point, he barely makes it. He gets that 3rd home run. But if you go just post trade deadline, it is 0. 0 White Sox have at least 3 home runs and 2 stolen bases in the month of August and the month of September combined. How sad is that?
Dear God.
And then you have Jerry out here with a booze cruise trying to schmooze with lawmakers to get money for a brand new stadium.
Yeah, he wants to get that sweet deal again.
Gary and I have been feuding about this for weeks. Not going to happen. That sweetheart deal is done. It is not happening.
No, they're not going to cave the way they did in 1991 or whenever that is.
No, they're not. Will they get money, some sort of tax cut down the way?
Sure. You'll get some help, but
they're anywhere near the deal that they got? Absolutely not. That is done. That is done. Not going to happen. It doesn't matter how many booze cruises he has. It's just not happening. That the appetite for that is done. The governor has already said no. No. And you had lawmakers that were on the booze cruise come out and say, yeah, that doesn't make sense for the taxpayers. It's not going to happen. It's just not.
Ugh.
And
Hey, out of touch. Flashing lights.
and it's but it's look at the deal that Jerry has with the stadium now. Is they he because he keeps the team bad and nobody goes, he doesn't have to pay anything. And he gets full say. If they wanted stadium he doesn't own, he has final say whether they can do anything with it when the White Sox aren't there. So if they in October after the season is over wanted to have a concert there, Jerry can say no and has final say. He's making money hand over fist. And I just, it's unreal that he has no care at all about winning baseball games. It is just about winning the business side.
Jerry Reinsdorf, if he wanted to, he could say no to a concert from a big name, but he can have a big stage set up with Tony La Russa with his pants around his ankles singing Old Gray Mare, She Ain't What It Used to Be, like that crazy old guy from The Simpsons.
It's just so maddening.
Fuck this city, man. Fuck this shit. Everything is a goddamn disaster.
It's so infuriating.
Meanwhile, Wisconsin has three teams that could win a championship. You got the Bucks, the Brewers, and the Packers, all championship worthy. They all own us, they all laugh at us, and it's not going to change anytime soon. Little Wisconsin is owning Chicago, and it's not even close to changing. The Brewers are ahead of you by miles. The Packers are ahead of you by miles. The Bucks are ahead of you by miles.
At least our hockey team's better than theirs.
Yay, we have a NHL team and they don't.
I got to take a win where I can.
Hey, Illinois is undefeated so far.
That's true. So I'm looking at Spot Track right now at the 2025 MLB team salary payroll tracker as it currently stands.
Okay.
So you said the White Sox will be cutting payroll.
So what it sounds like.
Well, that's what they said. Do you know what their payroll will be next year as of right now?
Oh, what is it?
It is $65.6 million.
That's less than Andrew Benintendi's contract.
But do you know what Oakland's salary is on the books for 2025?
What is it?
According to Spot Track, I'm not rounding either. $0. It goes White Sox are 22, 65.6. And then Pittsburgh 57.1615. Cincinnati 53 with repeating threes. Tampa at 46.7, Detroit 46.1, Cleveland 43.1, Miami 31.55, Washington 28.9, Oakland $0. Jerry is probably licking his lips and going, how do we get to them Oakland numbers?
Crunch, 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 crunch.
Oh God. I think pretty much everybody on Oakland is pre-arb.
Oh yeah, probably. And
except for Seth Brown. Everybody else is either free agent or pre-arb. Their payroll with before arbitration is $0.
Ugh. Crunch, crunch. Jerry's got an old-timey typewriter or like one of those 1980s like tax calculators. Oh, the math isn't adding up. How do we get rid of this? Chris Getz comes in. Well, nobody wants to take Benintendi's contract. We're gonna have to basically give Luis Robert away. We might have to trade Garrett Crochet. Okay, so be it. Crunch, 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 crunch.
But they're still paying Liam Hendricks and Jose Abreu.
Are they really?
And John Brebbia. But here's their payroll for 2025. Yohan Moncada, $25 million. Andrew Benintendi, 17.
Well, isn't that an option?
It is a club option.
Yeah, and they're not picking that up.
They are not picking that. Andrew Benintendi, 17.1. Luis Robert, 15. And then Max Stassi has a club option at 7.5, which they will not pick that up. So that number is going to drop by $32.5 million. And they're not adding a free agency. This team might be worse next year.
It'd be hard to imagine, but they're gonna bring David Eckstein out of retirement.
9 Ecksteins. You know what's funny? I went and looked, and David Eckstein played for 10 seasons in Major League Baseball, and Shohei Ohtani might come close to doubling his career home runs this season.
Probably his career WAR too.
Oh God. Just imagine Shohei Ohtani hitting at Wrigley Field, just parking balls onto Waveland.
Trust me, I've dreamt that many times. A reality that's never going to come true.
I just want to go back in time and find Shohei Ohtani's house and just stand outside all day with a sign that says, "Please, Cubs, please, Cubs, please."
I'm sure that would convince him.
I'm sure it would.
Probably send the guard dogs out after you.
Doesn't he have a little dog?
Yeah, that's his guard dog.
He sends his little furry dog out, little fluffy dog out there. He's like, God.
Oh boy.
But the only other thing I think we have to even quickly talk about is the Chicago Blackhawks have a new captain.
Yes, they do. They named Nick Foligno the captain last week, first captain since Jonathan Toews. He'll be the first non-Jonathan Toews captain on the Blackhawks since Martin Lapointe, right before Toews became the captain. So it's not surprising. He was kind of the de facto captain last year, and I think it's fine giving Bedsy another year to grow and learn in the NHL. I know Jonathan Toews was young when they made him the captain, but the Blackhawks were in a very different position at the time. This team is still building up, and you brought in a lot of veterans that are going to be here for the first time. And I think it only makes sense to have a veteran who's been a captain before, who's respected like a captain, to take this role this year. So great choice by the Blackhawks. Really happy for Nick Foligno. I think he's going to be a great captain. Really happy that they did that.
And our former captain is having fun at Burning Man.
Yes, he is. Yes, I saw that Instagram post. You know, he's technically not retired yet, Jonathan Toews.
I know. Why not?
Because, I remember him saying, "Oh, I'm going to take a year or so off some time, whatever." It's like, dude, there's no way you're going to be able to get back on an NHL ice at this point.
There's 0% chance. 0%. You left on unhealthy terms, and not in a bad way, in a physical body toll way. And in April, he's going to be 37 years old.
Yeah.
Like what, who is
concussions, autoimmune issues, got a lot of problems.
who would take him? He would 2 years removed and didn't play well at the end anyway. Like, and he's 37. Like, nobody's taking on that guy.
No.
Like, is he going to go play in the minors?
Is he going to play overseas?
Why would you?
I don't know.
Is he going to try to ask for eligibility back to play back at North Dakota?
Yeah, right.
Well, I didn't finish my 4 years,
Hey, gotta do something after hockey. Gotta do something after your NHL career. Man. The funny thing too is going into this season, the Blackhawks are the team in the city where you don't necessarily feel the pressure for them to be contenders this year, but you have expectations where they can at least be entertaining to watch. And that's what I think we're going to get. Obviously, you're still not going to win enough games to be a contender by any means, but what you want to see is a competitive team, one that obviously has a much better offense than last year, because you didn't have an offense last year. But you've added a few veteran guys. You've added a few veteran D-men who might not be in their prime anymore, are going to make the biggest difference. But I think having those guys on the team can at least help stabilize things for a little bit as you grow some of your guys. And you're going to see some more from some of the young kids. I think you're going to see more from Frank Nazar this year. So that's an exciting prospect. So look for all the goods here. And no, they're not going to be a winning team, but you have the chance to make a big leap. And even Bedard, it's going to be year 2. And he's actually going to have a few more guys around him, optimistically, if Taylor Hall is healthy. And you've added Teuvo Teravainen. You brought in Tyler Bertuzzi. If Frank Nazar gets more playing time, right there.
I wonder who of the young kids is going to make the roster and who's going to go start the season in Rockford. It's going to be no matter what, it's going to be a good time to go to Ice Hogs games, because you're going to see some real future players that are going to be good players playing up close and personal.
Yeah, so be sure to go over to icehogs.com and get yourself some tickets, because the future is on the cusp.
Yeah, you're going to go see some really good players, and there's your chance of getting autographs or photos with players is going to be way higher. There's going to be opportunities for you to buy a game-worn jersey. You're not going to get that with the Blackhawks unless you're raking out big dollars, but you might get an Ice Hogs one for $400, $500, which is significantly different than once they're on the Blackhawks.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to preseason, because you're going to get a few more looks at some of these kids before obviously they start playing again in the minors, but get every look you can.
Yeah, I mean, training camp is pretty much here.
Yeah, isn't Wednesday their first game, preseason game?
I think so. Yeah, I think they're already skating in practices.
Yeah,
So, we're here. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think I've said my piece.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, etc. Share this podcast with your friends. That's how we grow the show. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com, or ShyFanPat2 for Alex on Twitter/X, or AlexanderJPatCreative.com for all the cool stuff that Alex does. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We think Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like number New Yorkers. Smoking crack is not legal on planes.
Bears 31 to -7.
The Bears.
Oh, when the Bears go bearing down